everyone, and on the call we currently have Lauren, Tim, Matt and Taylor and Ron, and I'm just going to let Lauren introduce herself because you haven't had a chance to meet Lauren yet, and she'll be coming back to talk at the end of this because she's taken Rachel's place on the project, heading up the project and managing where we go from here. So if I hand over to you, Lauren.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Bron. Hi, everyone. I'm Lauren Arkley. Recently joined the Department of Education, I think about 2 months ago now, and I'm the Senior Project Officer in the Digital Learning Branch. And one of the things I'm responsible for is the rollout of Minecraft in schools. And one of those things is supporting the Minecraft Innovation Cluster. So here I am. But I've sent out an email and I've put some things in the team. But yeah, really looking forward to working with you all. And if there's anything at all that anyone needs to reach out about in terms of the project, I think I'm now fully up to speed. So just feel free to send me an email or call me. More than happy to help. Oh, Bron, I think you're on mute.
Yes, of course. We have a few more people who've joined, so we might just quickly get each person introduced themselves, and if you want to tell us about something that's been going on with Minecraft in the last little while or not, let's go for it. So Taylor, you shut up first, so you can go first.
Okay, I'm Taylor. I'm a Year 3 teacher from Whittlesea. I'm still teaching remotely, but I'm on site full time. I did a lot of Minecraft with my kids remotely at the start of the remote teaching period, and throughout this whole period when I have been on site to supervise, I've run challenges and things with the kids on site.
So cool. But you have had some technical issues.
Yeah, just with the joining of worlds remotely, but other than that, no.
Okay, great. Matthew.
G'day, I'm Matt. I'm a Year 3 teacher in Aspendale. We had the challenge of trying to get our kids to log in for the first time remotely. We hadn't had any practice sessions prior to going into shutdown, so we've got quite a few of our kids on there now. Did a challenge over the break where they could design. One of the options for the design brief was in Minecraft, and that got a few of them involved. And a little bit like Taylor, we've had a few kids here at school. I built my own version of the activity, and they've been joining in that too. So it's been really nice to see their enthusiasm for it and how it could be used as part of it's actually a literacy lesson. So that's really good. But as far as a full rollout, we've got a ways to go in grade 3 at least anyway.
Great. Alicia.
Hi, sorry I was late.
No, you're right.
I'm not sure what we're doing.
Who they are and if they've done anything recently with Minecraft.
Sure. So I'm Alicia, STEM teacher at Cranbourne Carlisle Primary School. In regards to while we're on remote learning, I set up a time with our Year 6 students just where I was going to be hosting a world with them for a few weeks there, and so a few of them jumped in. I only ever got about 10 or so, but it was still nice to just get those kids together, and they had a lot of fun.
Great. Lots of lessons learned, even in getting that 10 in to hang out and play. Arden. Having trouble unmuting? We might come back to you after we hear from, Tim is fixing something. You're there?
I'm back now. No, just a bit chaotic. I had to just do a couple of things. Haven't done a whole lot, unfortunately. So I'm supporting the Year 4s with this program. It kind of completely fell apart because of the whole COVID thing. But I had a meeting with them all last week. and I got all the year 4 teachers fired up, and they're all keen as mustard. So I thought this was going to be a perfect PD to come to, because it was about planning. So yeah, like I had one of the year 4 teachers that came with me to the initial PL, and so he's I've already did a little stuff with him, just exploring some stuff with the kids, but now we're going to start pushing that out with the rest of them now that we're back on site. This week, I do believe that they're actually going to introduce it to the kids online, just getting them logging on, and because they're all set up with Google Classroom, so they can log on with their EduPass password and things like that. So I'm pretty sure the kids are going to they're going to try and fire up some of the kids this week, so we can hit the ground running come week 8 and 9, 10, and then it can be planned really well off into the future. Yeah,
that's good news. Michael.
Hello, I'm Michael Webb. I'm a Digitech Learning Specialist at Banyule Primary. We've been, I guess, part of the cluster from the start, and we've been running Minecraft for Education for proper now since the start of this year, and we were dabbling in it last year. Since all this, we've tried unsuccessfully, and we joined not last week, I think 2 weeks ago, the Microsoft people you had on, Bron, which didn't actually get to the heart of the issue with we're having trouble really doing the remote access, and we've had up to 5 kids. It hasn't really been the functionality hasn't been really working past that, and there have been multiple issues. Obviously, different versions is one from home computers, but we thought we'd had that ironed out. But yeah, so we're really excited, definitely in the remote, to have that social space, and we're a little bit disappointed we couldn't get it to work across. I mean, we've got it 3 to 6, but there's probably about 4 or 5 of 12 classes that really have using it, and definitely ideally we would be wanting to introduce and integrate it into all of the 3 to 6 classes a lot more. Yeah, I guess, yeah.
I have at the end of the talk today, and I'm hoping everyone will stay to the end, is we have we've started a document from harvesting all the ideas out of troubleshooting that we think might be really good advice to solve the intermittent problem of kids not being able to log in.
I don't know how long today is, Bron, but I can only speak for our school. They want us out by no later than 4:30 every night, so they can clean.
Yeah, we'll be wrapping up at 4:30.
Great.
So yeah, that's it. That's the goal. Arden, do we have you on voice? No, I'm not. No. Well, if you want to put something in the chat, that would be great. Put something in the chat about what you're doing, if you want to use that. But anyway, I'll have I missed anybody? No, I think I've got everybody who's here. I'm going to switch over to the presentation just to get started on where we're going to be with that. We've got Anastasia's just joined us, so welcome, Anastasia. We'll get you talking in a sec about what's happening.
Hi, can I talk? I'm sorry, my
Yes.
colleague, I'm at Aspendale Primary. I don't know what's wrong with my computer. I bought a microphone and all this home learning to make my videos clearer. Now, what I've been doing is I've been setting Minecraft challenges every Wednesday with my kids. It only started off 1 week as an idea, but the kids demanded it the second week. So I do that, and it's actually been really good, keeping some of those kids who are a bit disengaged to actually come back to the Google Classroom and check in. And then what I do, I make a little Minecraft EDU show that the kids like, and I put some funny voices on there, and the kids enjoy that. Something else that's really been good is that one of the aides has been using Minecraft to engage with a student with ASD, and that's really keeping the connection.
Oh, that's fantastic.
The aide's actually gotten up and can actually build something. The aide actually built a special world for the student's birthday, and the kid absolutely loved it and had a big the aide actually learned how to build a Sonic the Hedgehog, and because the kid loves Sonic, so it was really great for that.
Amazing. That's great. Well, I read your email that you sent me about your challenges you've been working on. I was very impressed.
The current challenge is to build a school or ultimate classroom. And the kids are really loving that because it's kind of getting them ready to come back to school. So kind of mentally preparing. Some of the kids that are actually doing the challenges are some of the most disengaged kids.
Well, maybe you'll get some good ideas for how to change your classroom from what they build.
Exactly. That's kind of what I'm doing as well. Seeing but some of them want to have like fish under the water, under the floor and things like that. Although Mr. Birdie, he's got a bird and a fish tank in his classroom. So I don't know if it's too far from reality.
Yeah, they always want to put a swimming pool or something that's a little bit of a bigger infrastructure project.
Yeah, why not?
Anastasia.
All right, I'll go back to mine.
Hi, sorry, I was on mute. So I've come in from a very wet duty and not all the students got away, so I was a bit late, sorry.
That's all. Everyone's just saying who they are and if they've done anything with Minecraft.
Oh, okay. Well, we are. Joel's coming to join us. We were both on this. You don't look as drenched as I do. No. It's a very wet day here in Ashburton. So what we've been doing with Minecraft is trialing a couple of things. We've tried to have what I just caught there. A couple of sort of just fun, hosting some fun. We were calling them Minecraft Mondays. That was sort of, we might talk a little bit more about that because there was some technical issues around that. But we'd planned to structure an end assignment. I think I mentioned this
we shared the rubric.
We shared a rubric about them creating a world that takes us back to one event in the old Australian history. And so we actually decided that even though we were remote, we'll continue that assignment with a little bit of support by way of Joel creating some how-to videos to actually nut through the skills required, and then through reading online and some structured work on the slides that we presented each day to them remotely, we would help them write scripts for those worlds. And then essentially they just create these tour guides in the world and all these multimodal elements to make the world feel like they were taking us in a step back in time. Did you want to add anything, Joel?
No, it's been really interesting. The kids did research, they formulated a script, they've built a world, so they've generated a world, populated it with buildings that are historically significant to a particular event. And now they're just adding in their tour guides, and their tour guides will tell any visitors to the world about the buildings and about what happened there. And they've just started sharing them with us. So this morning in our WebEx session where we have our classes, we got to take them through a tour of an early stage world. And it's been really interesting to see how they've played with the dynamics. So we initially said tour guides, but they're also putting historically significant people.
Yes.
And then those people are telling you about the historical event. And a couple of kids are even doing 2 different characters with 2 different points of view on the same event. And so you as a player can go and talk to both of those people.
That's cool.
Yeah, they've really enjoyed hiding little Easter egg kind of things in around the game. So a lot of them are doing the gold rush. So we've got they've got mines everywhere, and there's like a secret little mine. They're using the chalkboards and the signs to add information. So yeah, it should be really interesting when it's all up and running.
A surprise too for me was I thought the Minecraft Monday, just essentially a fun session, would be low stakes, but. And quite contrastly, this assignment would be really hard to manage, particularly remotely. We weren't expecting to do that, but I think it's been really easy. They help each other. They've been helping, guiding each other through some of even though it's an individual project, they really have found ways of interacting and trying to help each other. And it's been really easy, actually. It's been really fun and easy. So I guess we were just feeling very glad that we'd set up Minecraft and all the rigmarole with the
got in just in time.
The setup before they left for the social isolation period. So
yeah, it's been a big ask for people who hadn't already jumped in. to take on so many new things. So,
Absolutely.
that's why this project is relaxed off and let people do whatever they feel comfortable to do in that remote setting. And given some of the technical issues, which we hope we're nailing, I think the technical issues are important because going forward, we're going to have vulnerable kids who won't be able to come to school for one or another reasons. And I think Minecraft's a really great way of keeping that one child, as you mentioned, Tim, connected to the school. It's nice to be able to connect kids whether they're in the physical school or not. So there's a lot of cool options there. So excited and glad to hear everybody's bubbling along a little bit anyway. And we'll talk a little bit more at the end with Lauren about how we're going to look at hearing back from everyone. Not everyone's had a lesson, but we've had lots of people have passed on to me great ideas they've had or technical problems they've nailed. And we want to have a bit of a wrap up of term 2. Exciting as it has been. All right, so I'm just going to go through. Apologies to a couple of you because this presentation actually is a snapshot of what we did in one of our cluster get-togethers, but this is kind of more important now as we move towards thinking about planning lessons. Hold on a moment. I always have a problem when I go to open PowerPoint in here. I've been, just to preface it, I've been doing some work, wrong PowerPoint. I've been doing some work, I don't want to share that, with a researcher in the research group in the United States looking at engagement. And that's really important to me to be able to see the curriculum goals are important to what's happening in Minecraft. And we have, some issues that happen with, is everyone able to see my screen now?
Yep.
Yep. Okay, cool. So some issues that come along with using technology in reaching curriculum goals, that sometimes the technology becomes the goal itself instead of being the conduit to the learning goal or the learning intentions. So this 5-step model, and I know a couple of you at least have seen this before, is the model we're currently using. And I'm finding, using it with teachers, it's turning out to be a really great way to focus high-level planning of a lesson or unit that might incorporate Minecraft or other immersive technologies in a way that maximizes its value but doesn't let it take over what you're doing. And so the 5 steps starts always with articulating your learning goals. And so making sure that you've stated what are your intentions, what standards or outcomes are you trying to reach, and actually recording those. So that's in your programming anyway, or in your planning for any lesson or activity. But it's always important to step off from that and to articulate it. And then look at those goals and say to yourself, okay, now what are the affordances of the tools I think would work here? And, that may be Minecraft, it might be VR, it might be 3D printing, whatever it is. You want to look at what that tool brings to the learning goals. So you're looking at the goal, and then what can this tool bring to the learning? And that's really an important thing to focus in on, especially with Minecraft, which can be so all-encompassing. But in different lessons, we'll have quite different purposes. So then goals and the tool affordances. The next step is, okay, how are you going to frame that in the classroom? How are you going to frame that tool? Are you going to create a role play? Are you going to create a challenge? Are you going to throw down a mission to step back in history, as we've heard from each of you, some of those ideas? So it's how the teacher frames it in the classroom, and there's a reason that's the highest step. Because what we found is that that's the most important step in this planning model, is how will you use this tool? Will you use it to kick off what you're doing? Will you use it at the end, or will it be something you're using along the way? Will you be using it perhaps to assess the student learning? Or will you be using it as a needs analysis to find out how much they already know? Will it be an instrument where the children can demonstrate the research they've done? So how will you frame it in the classroom for the kids? And it's really important as a teacher that you articulate that, how you plan to use it, and what will the students actually do with those tools, with those technologies. And then looking at the adoption and application of that, and this is I'm an immense fan of a researcher in the United States, Liz Kolb. She's an educator, teacher, and look, she's created this 3 levels: engagement, enhancement, extension. I'll talk a bit more about that in a minute. But how can you use this tool to take kids beyond engagement? And I know you've all heard me say this, but it's worth saying again. Often with technology, when I ask teachers to assess what happened, they'll tell me how the kids were so engaged. They didn't want to leave the classroom. They were so on task. They would spend hours at home working on a project when I never asked them to do homework. You know, and all of that is really describing engagement. And the issue is that engagement is where we want to start. Yay, we want to have engaged kids, and I never want to denigrate engagement. But we want to move beyond that to look at engagement with the curriculum concept, because a lot of what I see with Minecraft is engagement with Minecraft. Where is the curriculum concept being engaged with? And that's really the fine line that we're trying to work on. And then working it up to enhancement and extension. And I'll tell you a bit more about that in a minute. And then what's your evidence gathering? What evidence do you need to collect to understand if you've reached your learning goals? And what was the impact that this tool might have had? So in this case, what is the impact Minecraft would have had in helping to reach those learning goals? And the arrows at the bottom of this instrument show you that when you're designing the lesson, so when you're setting out your goals, you must think about what your evidence gathering is. So you're inventing that upfront. And when you think about the tool, you're thinking about how it's going to be framed to create engagement, enhancement, and extension. But everything hangs off the goals. And I think that's the vital bit of it. And articulating each of these in that order, and then when you've completed it, looking back on it and saying, okay, how do my tools and my tool adoption relate? How do my goals and my evidence gathering relate? And I have chosen to use the words evidence gathering. I really like it rather than assessment, because evidence gathering suggests an ongoing thing, something you're doing continually. And it doesn't suggest a test at the end of the unit. So evidence gathering is a really good way to think about assessment when you're using immersive technologies. So I've talked about Ashley before, but I'm going to give this because it's a quick way into this story. Ashley was teaching years 2 to 6, and she was a bit of a gamer herself, so she was familiar with Minecraft, and she wanted her kids to do some work on a spoken instructions, and how to give demonstrate a spoken procedure. Now that could be as boring as dishwater, but what she chose to do was to use some technology, and she had her goals of what she wanted to do, but she wanted to pull some technology in to enhance that engagement, but also to give kids new ways to engage with the spoken procedure. So they looked at YouTubers and selected some school acceptable YouTubers to look at, and how those YouTubers present procedures. When they're teaching their followers or their subscribers how to do something, what do they do and how do they do that? And they at the time had been studying the story of a story online, a story in the class, a piece of literature, and they wanted to use that to create a world in Minecraft that showed some of the story world. And so then they would create the YouTube recording demonstrating how they built what they built. So now they're going to become the famous YouTuber describing how to build Charlotte's Web in Minecraft. And how did they do that? And so this really upped the level of engagement for the kids, but at the bottom and what was driving it was always how to work on first the written procedure and then the spoken procedure, and how to produce something YouTube ready, YouTube worthy in their school, for their school. And they had a private YouTube channel or created their own internal one for these to be shared. So that gives you just kind of a summary of that. You can read her whole story. It's in the team space for everyone to have a look at if you want to read. And I have about 15 of these case stories that are really quite powerful that we're still working on getting published from around Australia. So we have 3 Victorian good stories to share. Okay, so her learning goals were decided, the curriculum that she was meant to teach in that term, and she put out her learning intentions. She looked at Minecraft and YouTube and video recording and a kind of app smash of those things to bring it together. And so that was really important in terms of the goals and what could the tool bring to the learning. So more than just making kids engage, it was actually getting them to think as they were building, okay, what are the steps here? How have I created my steps and walk back through it? And all along the way, they were writing a reflection of their activity. So if you're doing this in the classroom, okay, the place it starts is with your curriculum. And this is what it all has to hang off. And I'm not going to labour that. But then thinking about the Minecraft affordances, and others have heard me speak about self-determination theory, but the core, this is the motivational part of Minecraft, is it the ability to provide opportunity for kids to develop competence, to engage autonomously in activity, and to build relationships both with each other and with the knowledge of the curriculum. So these are some of the affordances of Minecraft, and I want to call these the motivational affordances. So the capacity for Minecraft to give competence, autonomy, and relatedness to our students. And then we look at Liz Kolb's framework, which was engage, enhance, extend. And engage is pretty easy to suggest, but we don't want to stop there. And so we start with that. Does the technology allow students to focus on the task? Does the technology motivate students to start the learning process? Does it cause a shift in the behaviour of students where they move from passive to active learners? Now, that's not talking about the technology or learning Minecraft or engaging with Minecraft, but it's talking about a shift in the way the children are motivated and working. And I think that's fairly easy for all of us to identify in very immersive environments like Minecraft. But then if we want to push it up, we want to think about, does it aid students in demonstrating a more sophisticated understanding of the content? And I think we had a big aha with that when Anastasia posted in the Teams group about the student who was building the cliffs at Gallipoli. And the student reflection was, wow, I really realised what a huge mammoth task this was for the soldiers when I saw how big the cliffs were, how hard the task must have been to scale those cliffs. Now that's allowing a student to demonstrate a more sophisticated understanding of the content than we could have given in a story or research or reading. So that's really where we're getting to that enhanced space. Does it scaffold and make it easier to understand concepts? And does it create a path for students to demonstrate their understanding in a way they couldn't use traditional tools to do? And I think that's really important. And we see all of those enhancements in that simple example from Anastasia's that she shared previously. And then extend. Does the technology create the opportunity for students to learn outside of their typical school day? Well, we're all doing that right at the moment. I don't know how you guys are keeping up, but I'm hoping you're going to take these holidays as a real holiday and have some downtime. But does it create a bridge between school learning and everyday life experiences? And does it allow students to build skills they can use in everyday life? So it's that pushing it out to developing a skill that could be useful beyond using it in the curriculum. And that's not just, say, coding skills in Minecraft, because that's fairly obvious, but it's actually reflecting, it's researching, it's demonstrating, it's a whole lot of other things. Now, there are other frameworks, and I know SAMR and others are very useful, but what I like about this framework is it doesn't mention the technology, it's about the curriculum. So it's all about what the teacher does and the curriculum goals. The technology is that way to reach the curriculum goals in an enhanced and extended way. And so I want to call those the curricular affordances, the impact that the tool might have on the learning goals. And so these are the things I think we need to concentrate on when we're doing our planning. What are our motivational affordances of Minecraft that we're going to take advantage of? And some of those or all of those, autonomy, competence, relationships. And then what are our curricular affordances? How are we going to push the students or scaffold the students to better engage, enhance, and extend their learning? Okay, so this is a model, and Michael will recognise this because we did this in this session, but we looked at Ashley's scenario and we deconstructed it. We tried to guess what her learning goals were, and then we tried to think about what affordances of Minecraft was she leveraging to reach her learning goals. So you can read that list there of what she was doing, but the affordances we identified in our session were the multiplayer use. A collaborative environment was really important. YouTubers need followers. You need people to look at your work and give feedback. There's a communication going on there. Students can be the experts, which is a really great opportunity which kids love. And often in Minecraft, different kids will rise to be the experts than the ones you normally have. So that's an opportunity some kids never get in otherwise. And then creating and exploring the world of text. Text as in media is both words and language, but it's also the media you produce. So that's really exciting. Okay, so then there's the back half of that is what instructional strategies or frameworks did she use? And there are a lot of micro things she did, but the main one was she created not even a role play. These kids were working as famous YouTubers. They were going to do something from a piece of literature they'd studied, which they knew well. They were going to create Charlotte's Web in Minecraft and then step someone else in through how to do that. And so they dived into how YouTubers work and understood all of that and how to be animated and interesting. And so that framework gave Minecraft a real reason to be there as the way of demonstrating something. Now, it could have been, and it's one that's a popular one, write a procedure for how to make a Vegemite sandwich, or write a procedure for how to make chocolate milk or whatever. So, but those are all very micro. This was a lot bigger, and it opened up a whole lot of ways for the kids to surprise her. And I think that's one of the things I like about planning with this instrument is planning your strategies, but leaving room for the children to surprise and delight you. Because if you're getting this right, that should happen. And then she looked at how the tool was adopted, how would it work on engagement levels? And then how was it enhancing and extending their learning? When it gave them real meaning, a real audience for their spoken procedures. And then they could even test how well they did that. Could someone else follow it and then build the same thing? And then what was the evidence gathering that would reach her goals, knowing her curriculum intentions? And so if we go back to this original one, we can see in our group earlier in the year, we looked at how-to videos she was recording, she was deconstructing things. They were using Minecraft, using screen recording software. So there was a whole lot of instructional strategies going on there. It looks fairly technological, but it really wasn't. It was focusing in on 2 or 3 tools. And then Minecraft's application is really quite deep in terms of its position in the learning. So it was a celebration of the unit of studying Charlotte's Web. It creatively explored what they learned. They were using a different medium to demonstrate their learning. And there's a lot in our curriculum about, being able to translate things into other media and how to do that. They were self-scaffolding to taking learning to their next own level. And I love that wording. I take that from someone at the meeting, your own next level. And they worked collaboratively with peers in a 3D space. And then in terms of her evidence gathering, she had the structures they built. And one of the things we have to be very careful with Minecraft, because Minecraft does produce something, is that we don't stop there. We do need to evaluate those things. And walking along, I know one of you commented to me that they were finding it difficult doing Minecraft remotely because you can't walk along behind the kids and have those, serendipitous conversations about what they're doing and what they're trying to accomplish. So, she walked along behind the kids, looked at what they were building as they were building, had conversations with them. They had how-to videos on YouTube. They justified the build, so the kids had to describe why it was that they built what they had and how it represented Charlotte's Web. And there was the procedural test, lots of discussion, and then reflection. And I'm a huge fan of reflection as an assessment strategy or as an evidence gathering strategy, both the teacher's reflection and the children's reflection on where they've been. And so that's the back end of that 5-step plan. And there are lots of these strategies are taken from Liz Kolb's work, but there are a number of these. Visible thinking, and I know some of you are into that, are using that, differentiation, different strategies that will help hone in on the 3 levels of engage, enhance, and extend. And I don't want to labour all of those now. I'm trying to be mindful of our time. And what assessment practices could be pulled in? Well, there's observation, design work products, soliciting student feedback, so getting students to give feedback on each other, the way YouTubers get feedback from their subscribers. The activity itself is the assessment. Analysing and use of perspective taking, being the subscriber and being the producer of the how-to. Students grading themselves was an option. Using traditional quizzes and paper and pencil tests is not an option I would have employed here. And then writing reflections. And I don't know that that's one Ashley has, but it's one we found in our research that people use these amazing immersive environments and then they offer up a test at the end. So the kids build the model of the goldfields and all these other exciting activities, and then they're offered a test to ask what year did first Chinese immigrants come to Australia to work in the goldfields. So there's got to be a match between the immersive technology and the evidence gathering that you're going to use. And the evidence needs to be on 2 levels. And this is really important for an innovation project like ours, is that we need to get evidence of the learning gains. It's not enough to say, wow, the kids were really engaged with this topic, because that's the floor, not the ceiling. But what we also have to get is evidence of Minecraft's role in the learning. This is a big investment in your time, in getting this set up, in technology, in the accounts that the department's buying. We want to know that this is actually contributing positively to children's engagement with the curriculum and engagement in learning. So while Minecraft's often about creating a product, we need to really hone in on our formative practices. So we looked at that. And so what I wanted everyone to think about is what's the next thing. Now, you might fit something in before the end of term. I'd be excited if you do. But what are you teaching in term 3? And you want to brainstorm the topics you've got and then look at, okay, what's a likely fit where I could take up the affordances of Minecraft? But always start with the topic and the learning goals. Don't go, I've got Minecraft, where can I stuff it in the curriculum? Because that is the recipe to not ever reflecting back adequately on your learning goals. So always start with the topic and the learning that you're trying to achieve, and then where will Minecraft be a good fit? Where will the affordances of Minecraft, the motivational and the curricular affordances, be a good fit? And so this joint planning document is online in our Teams group for you to do that planning. So if you've got a planning meeting coming up, you might be thinking about this. You can brainstorm it fairly quickly. The way I think it should be used, and I know we use this with Michael's instructional group, cluster group meeting, was to brainstorm and dump all the ideas we had that for each of these columns, and then to pull back and edit it. So you might say, you know, you put down 1,000 great things you could do. Okay, well, which of those are going to serve the learning goals best? And pull away the ones that are just, well, they're fun and exciting to do, but they're not necessarily going to serve the learning goals as well as we might have wanted. And so edit it back, because we always, when we design these kinds of cool things, want to do too much. We can get brainstorming into great places, and they may be where you want to go, you know, if you've got an experienced enough staff. But you always need to, it's like fashion design, you want to create something and then you want to edit it back to be well-rounded and neat and well-functioning. So this is a great, we're finding this is a great brainstorming tool for throwing down ideas in a team on a topic, whatever that topic is that you're going to teach, and start looking at, okay, what aspects of Minecraft could we pull into this that would be useful? And then what instructional strategies do we want to put in place? Are we going to have, you know, role players, challenges? How are we going to frame this so that it reaches our learning goals in the best and most effective way? So that's the 5-step plan. And when you've actually created it and edited it, you should be able to look back and say, okay, how well do our goals relate to our evidence gathering? How well does our tool selection relate to our tool adoption? And you may do this and find, well, okay, maybe Minecraft's not the best tool to do this. Maybe we want to do something else. It won't really meet the goals in the way we wanted. And that's fine. That might be a place to move on to doing something else. Or maybe Minecraft's got a minor role as something that you're leveraging to get to something else. So, and then, you know, making sure that it's the teacher making the decisions on the instruction, what's going to be important for the kids, and fleshing this out as a full program. So that's the model I want to suggest people think about. And probably the disclaimers there are, don't get trapped in engagement. Engagement is cool, but it's not where we stop. And always reflect, how are my curriculum or my learning needs being served? Now, that doesn't mean not leaving room for kids to do their own thing. It doesn't mean that the learning context has to be so heavily scripted that there's no room for the kids to branch off. Absolutely the opposite is true. As I said, you want to always leave room for the kids to delight you and surprise you with something they've come up with that serves the learning needs. So it's not about how heavily you scripted, but it is about how thoroughly you've how thoroughly you've thought about the learning goals and how they're going to be served. And then how you're going to assess that in a way that's important to everyone. Sorry, I just had a little drink. And I know a number of your principals put in their statement of work that in their statement of interest for this project, that they were hoping to have a broader spread of the use of Minecraft in the school. And this kind of instrument could be an easy way to get other people to think about using Minecraft. So, any questions on? It's not very intensive, and I've used it now with a number of groups inside this project and others, and I have found it's a very useful planning tool. Before you get to writing up a lesson plan, this is what you want to do. Excuse me, coughing. I'm not COVID. I'm suffering with allergies today. Okay. So, no questions. I'm going to hand over to Lauren to just take up this issue because she's emailed you today on what's happening. Lauren, are you there?
I am talking to myself. I was just saying thanks, Bron. That was really helpful. Yeah, this morning I sent out an email just to alert you and to remind you that the face-to-face celebration session that was planned, I think at the Microsoft offices, unfortunately has to be postponed because we're not allowed to sit together yet. However, in the meantime, Bron and I would really like it to just, if we could do something online, just so we can celebrate all the work that everyone's done so far, because from what I've heard about from Bron, it's been really good. So there's no obligation to come, but if you're available and you want to come, we'd like to get you to share something on one of the topics that Bron's got on screen, and this is in the email. Bron's created a document within the team space, so you can add your name under a particular area if you'd like to share something with the group, but that will be on the 24th of June at 4 o'clock. If 4 o'clock's a bad time, then we can change the time of the event to start earlier. I'm not sure what time people have to be out of school by, but at the moment we set it for that time. So yeah, have I missed anything, Bron?
No, that's great. So it can be about something you've started, an idea you've had, some little success you've accomplished. It doesn't need to be momentous things, but what we want to do is as a community come back together and look at where we've come from and think about where we're going and just share good things, frictions, whatever it is that we've had along the way. So that's our mini celebration. And I think the good news is that we might actually still have a face-to-face celebration in term 3. More on that down the track. The other thing is, I know a number of people have had problems and some people have solved some problems with technology, but I've started a document and I've pulled things out of all our resources about troubleshooting connectivity. So this document is in our team space and you can find it there. And I'd really encourage you to come in and add your ideas, thoughts, things you've solved. If your tech person has accomplished something that needs to be shared, please do. But we've got some ideas there on some things that will help with that, particularly with that intermittent problem of some kids can connect today and they're not tomorrow. And that seems like it's an IP address thing, and there are a couple of things you can do. So this document looks at what are the tips for everybody, and obviously having the same version of Minecraft is the first tip for everyone, and so on. Then the next one is what are the tips for the person hosting? So what are the things the person hosting could be doing to troubleshoot what's happening? And then what are the things at the client end? So what are the things at the student end they could be doing to connect better? And one of the things that it looks like it is if you don't close completely out of Minecraft and shut it down, and then you come back in, it can remember the IP address of the last session. And if you close Minecraft and come in fresh, but you go play in a world first and then you go to join the hosted world, there is a barrier to connecting. So there's some hints and tips here. I've started it off, as I said, from the discussion. David Jones, other people have been part of this discussion. Some of you guys, Tim and others have been there too, have contributed. So I've just kicked this off. The idea is that this could be a resource that could be gifted to all teachers in Victoria who want to use Minecraft and want to consider it as a remote connectivity tool. So it can be honed to be very specific to the Victorian education environment. So if you've solved a problem, we would love you to come and add your tips and hints in there. The only caveat I've got on it is I was trying to write this as the tech solution for non-techie people, because what we don't want to do is terrify the next group of teachers who want to come online, or the rest of us. I mean, because there are quite a few of us who haven't been able to do anything with Minecraft over this remote teaching period. And we don't want to scare everybody. So, you know, if we can soften the language so it's explained in a more generic way, that's great. So this is a document, I think, have at it, edit as you see fit. It's a shared document on the system, and important that we solve these problems. And then there's the where to from here, and this is kind of important now that everyone has a bit of a say. And the first of that is, do we want to continue these weekly online meetings? And do people have a say on that? What do people think?
I find it a little bit hard doing it weekly. I'd be happy to do it weekly, but it is hard with everything else. And then considering we have meetings 2 nights a week as well.
Yeah. So what about others? Tim and Michael?
I think the challenge with the later meetings too is the various family situations. So we had a couple of goes at the later one, like people with sort of younger kids are busy right up until 7, but then might be able to relax once the kids are in bed, whereas families who've got older kids, probably the reverse is true. And so I think outside of school hours is a challenge, and then it's just a matter of trying to get around staff meetings and the like if it's closer to the end of the day.
Well, I suppose another question is, have these meetings served their purpose now that we're back in school? And, you know, I didn't expect, these were a stopgap because we couldn't get together physically to do our professional learning activities. And they are all recorded. I'm a bit behind with putting the recordings online, but you will have access to them all, I promise, by the end of tomorrow. But I figure these meetings may have served their purpose for now, and everyone's back in school, or do we want to continue them in some other form, or what's people thinking?
I personally, on my end, because I because of, you know, the lockdowns and whatever, I pretty much switched off, and my whole community switched off from Minecraft. So I kind of, for me, this is why I've jumped on, because I know we're going to start doing a little bit more now. So I'm keen to kind of get people's input and have little meetings, definitely not weekly, but every so often, just to help me keep the ball rolling. So this is when I'll be jumping in more rather than the other way around, if that makes sense, because we will be back on site. And I'll definitely want to get the ball rolling term 2, but then term 3, I want to really run with it. So I'm keen to keep catching up. Just later in the week's generally better for me.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll jump in on the back of that. Yeah, I definitely think term 2 has been a write-off. I feel moving into term 3, we will be able to bring this back online and get it up and running, and hopefully have some good success throughout the term.
So we're going to meet on the 24th. Do we think we need any further meetings before then, or not?
I wouldn't mind. 24th is quite good actually, because I wouldn't mind when the 3s and 4s and 5, 6s come back, and just to see what's happened in that little period. And then, you know, the 24th, we can say, well, all right, now they're back on site. Have you been able to do anything? How's it gone? So for me, that's pretty perfect on the timeline.
So are you thinking if we gave this a rest till the 24th in terms of meetings, and then on that 24th we could decide if we wanted to have like a monthly meeting in term 3, or, you know, how we want to go forward with that?
That sounds good with me.
Yeah, I think that sounds pretty good. Like, especially for me, just sort of starting out and trying to get more kids on it, to have a bit of a more normal, the old normal, for kids on there, and to be able to sort of set them up before the holidays and to try a few remote things and actually have some things to share as far as successes and failures to learn from. But yeah, at the moment, I don't really have a lot to talk about. It's kind of just me playing around, creating things and having ideas, and not really knowing if it'll work in the normal classroom, for want of a better word.
But what you just shared, you've intrigued me now. I want to know what ideas you've been playing around with and dabbling with. So that's why that 24th is important, is as a, you know, share big and small, because we've all had some little scrapings with things. And if you've done nothing, at least you can hear what everybody else has done and it leverage that for term 3. So here's my thinking, is that we could give these meetings a rest. And the other thing is I'm available. So if you wanted me to speak to your staff or spend any time taking you through any of what we've done, I'm available to do that. Like, you know, I can commit to half an hour, 45 minutes to talk to teachers if you wanted to gather them to, you know, gear them up for term 3. So I'm committing to that if you wanted to take that up. But we could, I'm thinking here, we could probably rest these meetings, because I think switching back to full-time classroom and everything else before the school holds is going to be quite enough. Then on the 24th, when we gather and have a bit of a little celebration of what we've learned, think about what we want to do to support everyone in term 3. So the other thing we need to think about is, I know Rachel sent you out a message that we were relaxing the lessons, the commitments for this project, but we do have to put a finite timeline on when we might have produced a lesson plan. And I have a finite timeline in terms of some of my commitments for Minecraft, not to this project, because I want to stay involved with this project for as long as I can. But we were thinking if we could have produced a lesson and a reflection. It doesn't have to be a reflection on teaching the lesson. It could be a reflection on how you've learned about what you've learned about Minecraft. If we could do that by week 6 of term 3, that might give us a line in the sand to say, you know, how are we wrapping up our commitments to this group? Does that sound reasonable or achievable to people? I know some of you have already taught lessons, some of you have planned them. I know, Michael, you were ready to jump on stuff pre-COVID, and, you know, that's blown out of the water. But I'm pretty sure if we could just produce the lessons and each give feedback on them, and then a reflection on what we've learnt or consider we've learnt about using an immersive technology like Minecraft in teaching and learning, that would be a great wrap up to this project. The community is not going to close, by the way, in case that was of concern. There's interest in continuing this community, and perhaps for some of you becoming mentors and leaders to other teachers beyond this program. So, yeah.
So I think that sounds manageable, that week 6.
Yeah, you don't have to have taught the lesson if what you want to do isn't in that first half of next term. Obviously, you're not going to force it. We don't want anyone to do that, but you might plan the lesson at least and share it, get some feedback from critical friends in the project, and then reflect on, you know, getting to designing that lesson. And we want those lessons to be, you know, the lessons that the next band of teachers will come in and see and go, wow, that's really cool. I could do that. So, you know, you're the vanguard, and the next lot of teachers are coming along behind you. So don't think anything you've done is unimportant, because everything you've done is something another teacher behind you would love to be able to achieve. So that's the thinking at the moment. You can think on that, and if you have any issues, you can let me know. Otherwise, I'm aiming to be out of this session because I know people have to get out of their school. Are there any questions?
No, nothing here.
All righty. Does that 5-step plan look like it could be useful?
Yep, looks good.
Okay. And let me know if you use it as a planning tool with teachers at school, because I'd be really interested to hear how it goes. And you know, if there's room to modify it, or if it needs more fleshing out, I'd love to hear about it. As I say, it's a piece of research work I'm doing with an Australia and America project. Alrighty, we're close. We're only 4 minutes over the hour, so I'm feeling quite good. Any issues anyone needs to raise before we finish up? No? Everyone's cool. All right, good people. Good luck with being back in full-time face-to-face next week. And I look forward to hearing some cool things on the 24th, and at least seeing everyone's lovely faces. And you won't have Zoomed or Teamed or WebExed all day when you join us on the 24th. You hopefully have had some shining little faces to look at, and then you just join us in Teams. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Bron.
Thanks, Bron.
Thanks, Bron.
Bye. You still there, Lauren?
Hello.
Yeah.
Sorry, you said that literally as I hit the button, so I thought I'm coming back.
So yeah, I think. What's your sense of that? I know we didn't have a huge group, but they're representative.
Yeah, I thought that was really good. I really liked what they shared in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Really interesting ways of using Minecraft in the remote setting. So there's lots of wins, I think, from that. Towards the end of the session, particularly in the last 5 minutes, quite a lot of them dropped off because they had to leave school. So I think that's why there was a bit of radio silence towards the end, because there was only Alicia and Matthew left.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that went well. I think that everyone seemed quite happy to leave it till the end of June to next catch up, which I think makes sense and gives them a bit of space to breathe. Yeah. What did you think?
Yeah, I agree. That was my thinking, that I think we need to back off with because these served a way of, you know, keeping them in touch in some respects. But I think if we can now direct them back into the team space again, you know, that's really where we want the conversation to happen. I need to get those first couple of people to post a lesson plan. And I know there's a couple I can probably lean on who've done that. If we can get them, or an idea, I put in the space, it doesn't need to be a whole lesson plan. It could just be an idea for a lesson that you want to post and share with people. If we get those first people to do it, with this group, I find breaking the ice, you know, seems to follow well. And the team's activity seems to have picked up. Strangely enough, Friday and Saturday of this week, whether people were preparing for Monday or whatever, but I'm hoping if whatever we do, we can direct them back into the team space. I think I'll continue to do the Monday update, and we'll just be looking at activities in the team space.
Yeah, and one of the things I was thinking, but I'm not sure how it would work, but for, that one teacher that said he's now starting to get back on track. So there seemed to be two different people, like two different types of people in the group. There's one that was still doing all the different sessions each week, and then there's people now that are kind of energized because they're like, right, we're going back to school.
Mhm.
I really want to get this underway. And I wondered if for those individuals, if they're struggling or if they really feel they're missing out as a result of no sessions, maybe we just run a session for them, like a drop-in. If they've got something they want to go over with us or get some ideas from. I'm not sensing that they need that, but it's just an idea as a just in case if they feel that the lack of sessions between now and the next one,
Yeah.
they're kind of struggling. Because, yeah.
Well, in the original plan, I think we did plan to do like office hours, but it's really hard to find a time that works for people. So that's why I suggested if they wanted to have a meeting with their teachers in a grade, in a year, or have me go through anything or have a conversation with people, or if they wanted to throw some ideas around, I think that more targeted thing might be useful.
Yeah, and maybe that could go out in the Monday email if you need
Yeah.
some one-to-one, and I'm happy to do that. And if you are, that would be great as well. And just we can make a time that suits them in the school, the working day,
Yeah.
and connect up just to make sure that everyone's is as supported as they can be for success.
Yeah, I think you're right. We need to leverage those energized people. And Michael, who was on the call, now, one of the meetings we had was in his school, and they were all set that when I left, we did the half-day meeting, and they had a planning session for Minecraft that afternoon. So, but they were right before COVID hit. So they had a unit of work all planned. Obviously, that has gone that term, but I think they've been through the process, so that won't take them an eternity to get organised.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, because that seemed a shame because they said they were kind of disappointed with how it's all worked out because of COVID. So it'd be good to target him as well to try and get him back on track so that it becomes positive.
Yeah, that's my sense of them. They're a very professional school in terms of their planning and organisation. And they had, beyond the project funding, CRT, they had put their own money towards, getting the staff together and doing group planning, and so my sense of that, they will do what they say. But it was maybe just the online, all the newness of online was too much. But then, like, Taylor doesn't say anything, and then you figure out she's done all these fun little things with her students. And
I know.
I hadn't heard from till he sent me an email saying he was doing projects, challenges with his kids.
Yeah, so I'd really love to see Arden's ASD engagement piece in a bit more detail. I think that would be really interesting.
Yeah. So there's I think there's more there than we know of, but we just need to break the ice.
Yeah, and I just think it's such a surprise because if I went to my team meeting today and said, Minecraft, they'd be like, oh, we can't, no teachers will be touching anything. And I'm not saying they would say that, but they might say, oh, there's other things that people are prioritizing. And it's just really amazing to hear all the things that they have been doing. There's been such a good amount of work getting done, and really creative ways of bringing children together and solving some of the issues that COVID has created. So yes, it's just, it's really interesting, everything that everyone had to say. I was kind of furiously scribbling down all the different things that everyone said, but I just thought it was great. And Anastasia's example was really good as well.
Yeah, she's powerhouse, but the two of them are a great team, her and Joel. We held one of the other cluster meetings in their school, and they were great. So I expect good things from them.
Yeah, no, that's
great. I think the other thing is some of these schools have got good tech people, like IT people, not the teachers, who could help solve some of those technical issues. I think we need to make sure we've invited them in to look at it.
Okay.
But I think if we solve that, I think there's benefit not just in remote teaching down the track. But if you've got a child who can't come to school, vulnerable kids who won't be able to get to class, offering them to be able to hang out with their classmates in Minecraft, is a really nice way to keep inclusion on the decks. So yeah, I think solving those problems is important. I think a lot of teachers will do more if it didn't, like the whole intermittent thing of it is that you're not certain who's going to get on today and who's not.
Yeah, it's a bit like when the internet first kind of began in schools, and the class teacher. I remember being at school, and the teacher was always scared to bring out the laptops because some people connected to the internet and some didn't. Like,
Yeah.
it's kind of like that, but it's in Minecraft, and it's hard because then it causes so many issues in the classroom when things don't work. It must be harder without the face-to-face element, but when you're in class and things don't work and then the kids get kind of disengaged, and
Yeah.
that's just not what you want. Like, that would be a turn off straight away. So I think that it's really good that document you've put together for some of those technical issues, because I think that that will certainly help people and give them a bit of a start, and it's better than having to scroll back through the conversation we've had and watch the video, because it's just
People
quicker.
don't remember that. They go, oh, I saw that somewhere in the conversation, but I don't remember where. I think, just trying to pull together some summary document will be really useful. And I just picked what I could see. But the last one, I think, is the making sure you absolutely closed out Minecraft, that you actually exited Minecraft. You didn't just close a world. That you actually exited Minecraft, and that when you do log in, the first place you go is the shared world. I think that's the key for many of the problems.
Yeah, that'll make, and it's such a simple thing to solve.
I hope so. I hope some people will. I hope some people will continue to test that for us, so we know, does that work?
Yeah.
I might target a couple of them that I know have had problems and see if that will be helpful.
Yeah.
All right.
That's really good. Thank you. That was a really good session. It was really interesting, all the ways of planning. I thought it was helpful, and hopefully gets people back on the planning bandwagon again, back into Minecraft. But it was great. And I'll keep in touch. Maybe will we touch base in about 2 weeks' time?
Yeah.
And just make sure we're all ready for the end of the month's mini celebration. And perhaps if there's anything that's popped up in the team space between now and then, we can discuss some of that too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think just trying to get people to be involved in the team space and, get the first people to start suggesting lesson ideas. I was thinking about putting a homework task in, only because they were really fun when we did them earlier on, because we did the first one, which was design a portal that could transport us to another world or take us back in time. It didn't have to work. They just had to design it and put a screenshot of it up. And the second one was they played the Mindful Night, and then gave feedback on whether they liked it or not and whether they'd use it. And I was thinking, if I can find an interesting Minecraft task and just make it's teacher homework, it's not for the kids, because that really got people doing something. That it wasn't thinking about curriculum, it was just having a play.
Yeah.
And I think that could be nice to launch for next week. So some kind of homework task for the final weeks.
Yeah, and keeping in mind as well that I think it's next Monday, a week today, that the rest of the kids go back to school. Sorry, I call them kids, students. So they might have a really full-on week next week, but the week after that might not be as busy. But it must be so much work for them all.
Yeah, well, the homework tasks are traditionally, there's been a couple that just dive in straight away, and then like weeks later, other people are commenting or doing them. So they don't have a deadline on them or anything, and they're not something they have to jump in and do. But it just gives them something fun to jump on and explore.
Yeah.
So I'll have a look at that and see if I can find something relevant and fun to do. Yeah.
Cool.
And let's hope we can solve these tech issues, because I'd really love to see that not be an issue. I mean, a number of them got around it by saying, making this Minecraft an option. Or, one of the teachers said he was using Zoom with the kids who couldn't get on, or, WebEx or whatever, to demonstrate from his connection. So there's some ways to get around it, but it's all ugly.
Yeah, it's just rubbish, and it's sad for the child that's at home and can't connect, but knows that everyone else has managed to connect, and they would start to feel a bit left out.
Well, I know, and a lot of people have kind of come down on Microsoft over this, but peer-to-peer connection is not something Microsoft's very big on, number one. And number two, for Minecraft Education Edition, the sort of remote connectivity wasn't high on the roadmap. And then COVID hit and they had to, well, even we caused them to have to review their instructions for how to connect. So, and when I say we, I mean the Victorian teachers, caused them to have to review because we said, we followed these instructions, don't work. So they've really upped the ante, and if we can take a roadmap of ideas and throw it back to them and say, what can you add to this? I think that could be really helpful.
Yeah, okay. That could be.
So here's what our teachers came up with. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think if you don't ask, you don't get. Like if these are the things that people have done and it's worked, if we pass that information on and see what happens with it, it could help a lot of other people too.
Yeah. And I think it shows that, there's goodwill in Victoria to solve problems, not just to whine about what doesn't work. I think that's an important issue to keeping corporate interested in what's happening in Australia. So, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
All righty. Well, thanks, Bron.
Have a good week.
Yeah, you too.
I've got to remember what putting real shoes on and, so many things. I have lovely shoes. I'm a bit of a shoeaholic and I don't worn any of them much other than, sneakers and flip-flops. And I'm hoping to get back in those, and I'm just going to be so excited to go to the hairdresser on Thursday. I can't tell you.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
I have a daughter-in-law who's a hairdresser, but I have a policy of never using family to do things like that, because if I hated it, then there'd be, so much.
Yeah. Oh, I've got that issue. When I lived in Scotland, my best friend was a hairdresser, and I couldn't not let her cut my hair, but I didn't like it. Like, it was okay, but it was just the same haircut every time, and I would be like, oh, can you do this? And she wouldn't put like the hair dye right up to the root either. But because it was cheap, cheaper, like I felt I couldn't say and complain because she was really doing it as like a favour as well. And yeah, so as soon as I moved to Australia, I was like, woohoo, I'm going to get like purple in my hair or something. Just go the opposite.
All right. Well, yeah, let's just keep a watching brief. If we can try and get people back into teams, I'd love that, because there's good conversations there. But other than that, I think, they're going to have they've got a few fun things on the agenda for the last week of remote, and then, full on back in stream next week will be a lot of work.
Yeah. All right. I'll see you soon. I'll await your new haircut.
Yeah, I'll do something wild. I'm like looking at myself. That's the thing about Zoom or Teams or WebEx or whatever. You spend so much more time looking at yourself than you really need to do.
Yes. Hence why you should that's why I don't have my camera on, and then I don't have to acknowledge what I look like.
I joined Anastasia's session this morning with one of her students demonstrating his world that he built for the gold rush. And it was just funny, all the kids online and their different things they were doing while they were watching,
Oh.
Cute.
Yeah.
And she made me up the ante because she had lipstick on. So I thought, I had lipstick on for the start of this session.
God, I don't even know the last time I put makeup on.
I know, it's funny.
Lipstick, wow.
All right. Thanks, Lauren.
Thank you. Speak soon. See ya. Bye.